Welcome back, duelists, to the first match of top 8 for RBET Rulers. This is against Pina, or Diego, another player that I'm friends with, that we're in the same Discord that we use to practice with. So I'm aware that he also probably knows my text to some degree, and I also know fairly well what he likes in his decks, which definitely changes the dynamics of things. So he's on Frogs. I already expected that he would be, and I think I got to watch some of his games going into this, so not too hard to anticipate. The opening hand, Dust Shoot, Bottomless, Torrential is an amazing hand. The reason I don't set Torrential here is you want Torrential against Unifrog plays predominantly, um, and I'm expecting him to make like a soft lock or something if he goes for a Substitute play. I guess he could go for Dupe plus Uni. I think that is a solid answer, but a lot of people don't go for that board. So because I'm expecting a soft lock if he goes for anything in the direction of lining up Unifrog, I go for not setting the Torrential Tribute so that when he makes a play, I can set it the next turn. And he actually does, right? He does go for the soft lock here. I Dust Shoot when he goes to no prio, because I didn't do it on the summon and I wanted to save the Dust Shoot as a threat so that he wouldn't want to go into Uni early, right? Because if you see two back row, it's much more likely that one is just a D prison and that's all your Uni trades for. So he goes for the longer advantage play with it. This is a really interesting choice, right? Setting the Threatening Roar. I know his back row is a combination of Threatening Roar MST. So I go Battle Phase, uh, seeing if he wants to use that Threatening Roar, and he doesn't, right? So I want to give him a chance to try that, to out that. I set the value instead of the Raikou because it's less important and because I'm planning on stalling until this Torrential can get massive value. So he's playing this greedily, right? As I think often you should with Frogs, but the plan for him is T-Roar protect against something, I think. I think he was trying to do a mix-up there, but I was not going to go for a play into T-Roar. Something like Caius banished the Dupe Frog, trying to attack over the Substitute, is the greedy play where you're hard reading MST, and that's the thing he was expecting me to do. But one, I don't have the Caius, and two, that's not the kind of play that I think is right into this board, because I think punishing him setting T-Roar is very important too, to have within the range that you're making for your play if possible. And so because I have the Torrential, I know in the long game I am favored here, because when he does something that risks putting on actual pressure against me, I can do the Torrential and get about a 3-for-1 for it. And that's kind of the stuff that you need to stabilize. So here he goes for the swap play, and I opt to do it now because if he does have Unifrog, I won't be able to make the dupe mistiming when he summons that. So I go for it on the swap frog effect summon. And notice I'm down to 3 cards and he's at 5. So he's clearly still materially advantaged, but he is a bit lowered on life points, and a lot of his cards are minuses. At this point, it's pretty clear to me that the MST is not what he set. So I go for T-set here. This is to play around a potential swap frog, right? Is setting this D prison, something attacking in, just trying to get that free value. And the Raikou, my plan is to start outing his back row of the Threatening Roars and stuff that I need to get through before I can sack him, right? The goal against Frogs is to sack. That is your only win condition. I always said that Vayu has 3 good cards, Braincon, Burial, and Dad. We drew 2 of them. Yeah, here, again, we're just starting to force out the Threatening Roars. The reason I did not need to put a lot of damage on to force out this Threatening Roar is because he wants his back row cleared too, right? He wants to be able to use Treeborn Frog to defend again. He wants to be able to summon a Monarch on my board. So I don't actually need to put any more summons or more pressure out beyond this, because it's enough to make him want it. So the dupe frog, or the Raikou popping the monster, was because I knew he would want to activate the Threatening Roar, and because if it was a dupe frog, I would want to make it miss timing and not get the search. Both end. Yeah, so here it's an example of this is just enough pressure for me to feel fine. Him having Gores is pretty bad for me, but because I have Dad, I feel kind of comfortable still. And his hand is just so much defensive stuff that it doesn't really have a way to deal with this aggressive of a board. If he had like a single econ, I was not in a good position, right? If he had like one Caius, he's starting to stabilize just from that. But you really have to, when facing frogs, assume that they don't have the cards you cannot beat. And if they do, then you just admit to defeat to that. This is potentially a false ordering. It's possible that I should have just like passed by setting the oppression, because he's clearly demonstrating that he has a fader when he doesn't set the Threatening Roar that I know about, and he's that low, right? So I know in his hand he has a fader. Maybe a Trag. It's possible he's on Trag. I think Trag is much less likely. So when I draw the oppression, it's possible that the right play there is to not attack in, so that he can't summon that fader, and expect him to want to rely on that the next turn. Here, just gonna clear the monsters so that I can threaten a lethal again next turn. Again, it's about continually making these threats so that he has to keep using the answers that he has, and eventually he runs out of them. That's your goal here. He's just not drawing any monarchs or any of his bombs this game. Replay started to glitch a little, but basically I was able to force through the last damage, and he just never drew anything that whole game that could have really put the pressure back on me or taken the pressure off of him. Yeah, so here, I believe I paused before deciding to make the armed wing. The point of doing that is so that he's less confident that I have the deck dev, and I attack armed wing first because Gores is an actual threat to me here. So I'm gonna set 4. I have 2 chainable back row in Legacy and in deck dev if he does heavy storm me. Or I set 3 because I don't really need the Mirror Force when I have the rug. I can't think of much that he has that would get over it. The Unifrog play, for example, one, I can just make it miss timing whenever I want with deck dev. And 2 is if he does have heavy, now it's literally just a -1. Or 1 for 1. He goes for the econ. I have the deck dev punish, which is beautiful for me. I get full knowledge then, and I attack in. Again, I'm just trying to work through his back row slowly. Because he has the torrential, I can't push too hard. I don't set any new back row because I'm hoping that it's the Dust Tornado and he randomly uses it and hits the Legacy of Yada. So I'm looking to get that +1 in a position where he is locked out of his own +1s. So Frog matchup is a combination of floodgate them, right? Sack them, find ways to set up your sacks, in particular with that, and out aggro them, right? So you want to try and have the tempo advantage on them and hold them out of their tempos, and that's where things like Rug come in. That's not something that this deck can do very well, but it's why you sub out the like hamsters for breakers in the matchup. Is not because they're back row for you to really out with breaker, much more so that you just want attackers to get that to utilize that tempo advantage that you can have early. But also getting their back row locked up and being able to not have them gain advantage is a great way to progress the game to a point where you have more ways to sack them. That's sort of one of the strategies against frogs that you can opt for. Deck dev continues to give me perfect info, and I know he has torrential too. There's no point to attacking with the Armor Master because he obviously will just deprison it, and there's no reason for me to clear that out of his back row for him. And I would rather this Armor Master not get banished. That's an insane hand, by the way. Triple Miracle Fusion with no heroes. Game 1, no payoffs. Game 2, all of the weak back row. Here is the other time that Icarus proved its worth. So I could have used it to out 2 back row before. That would not have been enough. Here, I can normal summon the Armageddon Knight, force the Torrential because I have multiple lethal threats, and when he Torrentials, I can Icarus, pop both of the other back row. All of his back row is gone now, and since Armageddon is sending a Vayu, I have lethal guaranteed. Yeah, so he just shows the miracles. Icarus winning me another one, and now on to top 4. Hope you're enjoying. See you in the next one.